Nice. All right, so can I present my screen? Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
half of it is near certified developer and the other half is kind of green arrows. You see that? Okay, cool. So I see you here and I'm presenting here. So let's dive in. Oops. And there will be a recording of this session made available on YouTube shortly after this. You should have seen recordings if you took the time to look at the landing page there. You would see some recordings from the previous sessions. Okay, so first of all, welcome. I'm incredibly pleased to see so many people who have decided to come and take this course with us. It's our great pleasure, Sasha and I, to present you with this course. We've been working on it for close to 2 months now. And this is our 4th cohort. Every time we try and improve it in some meaningful way. And so hopefully today, what you see will be just as interesting and useful for you. I want to be absolutely clear. This is not going to be easy. By any stretch, you're going to have to work this week. It's not something you'll do casually. So brace yourself. I'm telling you this now. I'll remind you. This is going to take your time. If you've been developing software for many, many years, you might be able to get away with maybe 2 to 4 hours a day. Okay. If you're new, maybe a recent bootcamp grad, as I know some of you are, you should really seriously budget 6 hours or more per day, maybe up to 10 hours or more. And we'll give you all the support we can, but it's up to you to lean into the experience. So I'm asking you now to decide that you'll do it. And if for some reason you can't, you can always come back and join a later course. Okay, this is the agenda for the day. Let's just dive in. And I think one of the first things I want to ask you is 2 or 3 questions about this. So maybe you can use the QR code there or go to slido.com, type K841, or Sasha, if it's easy enough for you to post the link into the chat, this might be helpful as well. Let me just bring the chat up here, and that way I can also monitor this. So if you would please, okay, it looks like 15 answers coming in, so we're about halfway through the group. Go ahead and keep giving us a sense of what you're coming in with. This is really important because as we get to know each other, we're going to be figuring out how can we work well together. What can we expect of each other? How much support will we need? And so just as working on any group, which we'll be doing, forming groups today, spending some time getting to know each other, and then working towards a demo on Friday. The people that you have in your group are going to have different levels of experience. It's quite a wide range. So we'll talk more about all of this, but it's important to kind of get a sense, just clear data. Who's actually in the room? What experience do we have? So I'm counting 40 people in the room, 41 maybe, minus Sasha and myself. So we're around 40 plus or minus 1 or 2. It looks like lots of experience in the room with more than 5 years, but a big range. And one person, a couple of people maybe who don't write software. So fantastic. And for you, I think I would just strongly recommend, if you're going to stay with the experience, do all of the reading, ask all of the questions, stay connected with your group, but don't stress the fact that you're not going to be writing software. You can lean heavily into the design, the idea, kind of situational awareness. And even if you decide not to complete the full week, it'll be worth it to come back and watch the demos on Friday to see kind of how things land. All right, so 34 answers. I'll assume that's good enough, and some people are just not interested in answering, or maybe have the call on, but they're making dinner or something. Okay, so this gives us a good sense of who's here. You can see quite a big range here, and of course there's overlap with I have a CS degree, because you can answer this more than one. We've got a big range. Maybe I can split these up for the next cohort to see if we can get some clearer buckets here. Okay, so what tech is in your comfort zone? And I'll ask you to use one word. Try and use a standard spelling. If you see the technology on the screen, duplicate it. Don't get creative with the 12 spellings of JavaScript, please. That way the word cloud will cluster in a useful way. So whatever technology, it doesn't have to be programming language. It could be a framework. It could be a platform. It could be an operating system. It could be some specialization that you have, but we just want to get sort of a sense of what is in your comfort zone. What would you consider as something that you could maybe teach us all about if you had to jump on stage in the next 15 minutes and talk to us about it? What would that be? Technically speaking, that's the key here. Yeah, so somebody wrote JavaScript, comma, React. So just as a reminder, if you put the comma, that makes it a unique word. So if you could edit that, please, and split it out. One entry for JavaScript, one entry for React, just using the standard spelling. Same for Golang and JavaScript. If you don't mind, we're trying to generate a word cloud, and so the tokens are important that they match. Otherwise, the software won't know what to do with them. So if whoever wrote JavaScript, comma, React, please break that into 2 entries. Whoever wrote Golang, comma, React, Golang, comma, JavaScript, please break that out into 2 entries. If you're not sure what I mean, don't stress about it. Somebody wrote JavaScript and Java. So this would be 2 entries, one for JavaScript in the standard spelling, one for Java. Okay, we'll just spend a few more seconds on this. 29 people have responded. We'll give it maybe another minute or so. And this is useful because as a group, we're getting an idea. We have a significant range of experience, right? Most of the group, has this sort of, greater than 5 and 1 to 5. So maybe that's sort of a useless breakdown. But we're split effectively, more than 5 years and less than 5 years. And my guess is that there's probably a couple of humps there, 1 year, 1 to 2 years, and then maybe 5 to 10 years, something like that. So yeah, so if you're not sure what I mean about the kind of your choices for some of these words, that's fine, no stress. I've repeated myself a couple of times. I think we can stop at this point. 33 responses in. Let's keep going. All right, and now which contract language will be your focus? I'll say again, with NEAR, you have a choice to write a smart contract language. You have a choice of AssemblyScript or Rust, and it's up to you. If you've never programmed in Rust before, I would advise against trying to learn Rust this week. It's just not realistic. Unless you have maybe seen a lot of Rust and it looks familiar to you and you think, sure, I can handle that, I've been doing this enough, then fine, go for it. But if you're just sort of curious about Rust, this isn't the week to do it. There's enough to learn without trying to learn Rust. So for sure, you want to lean heavily on what you already know, and in this case, it would be JavaScript. And for that reason, AssemblyScript would be the right choice for you. That's my recommendation. And I say this having watched the first cohort and the second cohort struggle by day 2 or 3 to keep up with the material because they chose Rust and they found it to be a bit challenging. So by all means, learn Rust next week. This week, focus on what you already know. All right. Yeah, you can say, I don't know, I haven't decided, of course. You might try both. There's no, you understand there's no, nothing wrong. There's no wrong answer here, but we want to get a sense of the intention. And if you're wondering sort of what's the consequence, here's maybe something that will help. This week, you have a chance to spend time learning about NEAR contract development, and Friday to demo, either individual or with your group, some meaningful body of work. I'll show you exactly what that means later in this presentation. So that gives you the chance, earns you the certification for attendance, and gives you the chance next week to interview for 60 minutes with me to prove that you've actually learned this material. Okay, that's what the demo does this week. If for some reason you don't produce a demo this week, that's fine. Come back in 2 weeks and try again. No big deal. Some people are doing that actually. We'll have some demos on Friday from people from 2 weeks ago. that have been working on their demo for a couple of weeks. That demo earns you the right for a technical interview for 1 hour. And then that 1 hour interview earns you the certification that is the near verified developer, which accrues some benefits, including being sort of referred work opportunities and things like that. So we can talk about that in a little bit more detail. And so your goal is to kind of keep moving through the process. So whatever it is that you do this week, it's recoverable. This isn't some sort of permanent thing, kind of one chance or whatever. You have multiple chances to do this, no problem. All right, so let's keep going. 37 answers in there. Looks like here, nobody is here for the show. Okay, that's all right. Okay, so let's dive in. That who are we is actually out of place. It should be up here. I apologize. So that should be here. And now, what questions do you have right now? So in the same Slido, there should be a Q&A, maybe another tab or something in whatever the view is. Looks like there's a question from Hajar. Maybe Hajar, you can ask here on Slido, unless it's some kind of logistical question or something. What is it that's on your mind? Okay, yeah, so if you want to ask on Slido, please go to slido.com. You can type K841 or the same link, literally, that we've been using for all these votings. There's a QA there. Ask any question you want. If you're not sure what kind of questions you can ask, it could be something like, is there a difference between programming in Rust versus AssemblyScript? Yes, the short answer is these meetings are going to be exactly the same time all week long. I'm a big fan of logistical simplicity. Every single day at this hour we'll start. Today it's about an hour, may go a little bit longer, but it's recorded so you can jump at any time, no problem, you can disconnect. And then every single day this week, we're meeting at exactly the same time. Usually the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday meetings are between 30 and 60 minutes. We may not spend the whole hour. Depends on what questions you have and what we want to cover. And then the Friday meeting is about an hour, might go over a little bit, and that's the demo meeting. So we have a 2-hour slot every single day at this hour, and we usually consume about 30 to 60 minutes of that 2-hour slot with a little bit of room to go over if people have questions or something like that, okay? That's the short answer to that question. I'll assume it's answered, and if not, you can answer it again. Any follow-up course after this for advanced level? There's 3 levels of courses. I'm happy to share with you the plan for these other 2 levels. They're still being designed, but basically this one is about literacy and contract development. Level 2 is about full stack development, so connecting to contracts from the front end, a little bit more in terms of the patterns of contracts and some of the other kind of questions that in fact you'll be exposed to this week, but we're not going to cover them. So you will see everything that you will sort of possibly wonder about through all 3 levels, this level, the second level, and the third level, which is focused on mainnet. But we're not going to focus our discussions on anything but basic contract literacy this week. What I mean is all the samples and the demos and all of that stuff that you're going to see are all ranging through the skills, but the topic of discussion will be on the basics of contract literacy. So that's the answer to this follow-up course. I'll leave that there because any of these questions that I don't completely address, I also put in the FAQ, which is on the site. Why are you investing your time on us? I can share briefly the answer to that one, and then let's keep collecting questions and voting on them, please, while we continue to move on, because there's a bit of a demo here. So, it's a good question. I've been teaching for a while. Why am I personally investing my time is because learning and teaching is part of my identity, and I get great satisfaction out of helping people break through their own limiting beliefs. Some of you may not believe that you can do whatever you want or learn as fast as you want. I would love to prove you wrong this week and show you that there is no speed limit to learning, actually. That's why I'm personally doing this. Why is Near doing this? Because as we'll see in a few moments when we talk about kind of the context of what's happening, there's a window of opportunity which is closing on all of the 3rd generation blockchain companies, including Polkadot and Solana and Cosmos and Celo and many others, that we are trying to build a community of developers and users as quickly as we possibly can so that we maintain relevance in the industry over the next 12 to 24 months. And I'm happy to dig into the details of that with you if you like. Okay. Is it true we get paid to learn? What should we expect? Maybe Sasha can talk about that briefly. But I've already paid some of you to get a mainnet account when we met. I think before this meeting is over, I should make sure to give every single one of you a mainnet account. It's like, 5 near, it's not that much. But by the end of the week, Sasha, what has been the maximum that you can earn for answering all the feedback and winning first place in the hackathon? It's quite significant, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite significant. It's like up to it's more than $100, I think. But like if you come here for this money, like you're doing something wrong. This is not about it. Like they like forget about like $100, $1,000. Like this is an opportunity for you, like to entirely change your mind to your career. Like look at this from this perspective. And this 100 or like $1,000 is just just nice present. Like is a gesture of appreciation, you're interested in Near and you're willing to join our family. That's it.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, there's some money this week. But that's not the most interesting part of it, is Sasha's point, right? There's a lot more going on here. So that's the short answer to that one. Are we supposed to work individually in a group? Yeah, for sure. You should work in some group, and we'll be forming groups at the end of this meeting. But we all know how we prefer to work. I've answered this one, I think. If the demo is not ready by Friday, can we try after 2 weeks? Short answer is yes, absolutely. In fact, this Friday, we'll be seeing demos from 2 weeks ago. If we didn't get through all the day material, we'd be fine moving forward. Yeah, of course, you'll be fine no matter what. You'll see before we end this conversation, I'm going to insist that each of you is absolutely selfish this week with what you're asking for. Be completely selfish. Keep asking until you get what you need. And the rest of us agree to be sustainably generous. Within reason, we'll do our best to help you. And things usually work out. That's basically the plan. So don't stress if you haven't gone through all the day material. Some of you might find the day zero material really interesting, actually. If you haven't dug into blockchain, there's a lot of really cool podcasts and videos and articles there. Like the Bitcoin as time article is a complete mind bender. Is it doable within a week for non-expert people? Completely depends on what you mean by that, but please DM me. We can talk about that. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you're always welcome to come back later. Yeah, for sure. I would recommend that you consider working with Near. It is one of the most capable groups I've ever experienced in my entire life. It's absolutely overwhelming, actually, how much talent there is. Okay, let's stop there. I'll answer the rest of these asynchronously in FAQ. Please continue to vote and rate on these questions. Seems like the getting paid is an important one. I don't know if people are serious about that, but anyway, yeah, I guess there's a bit of a bonus, and it's significant this week. But if you do all the things and you win the prize and so on. Okay, so let's keep going. A word on focus. Let's talk about this. What's a car? So I don't know if you've heard of like a Carnot cycle or a Stirling cycle. Some mechanics and design experts might know about valve trains and displacement, or hub, rotor, master cylinder. You might recognize these equations if you're a mechanical engineer as fuel efficiency equations for aerodynamic movement of a body. And then there's this weird fact that like a third of automobile gas is consumed by friction of air moving around a vehicle. So you might be tempted as you go to buy your first car, or drive your first car, to study all these diagrams. Maybe that's you. Maybe you recognize yourself. You're like, get out of my way. I want to see all the details. Show me all the specifications. I can't wait before I turn the key of the car. But actually, this is what it means to use a car. You can make good use of a car without understanding all the details of how it works, in fact. So what's Near? You may be poring over, white papers and documentation about consensus protocol and economics and validators, and you might know this weird fact that like developer contracts earn 30% of transaction fees, and all of this stuff is publicly available, by the way. If you search for Near white papers or Near economics, you go to our website, you read through the papers. I'm suggesting to you that actually this is Near, building applications that people enjoy using. And hopefully you see the parallel between these two examples that I've just given you. You can actually use Near and build contracts without understanding anything about the consensus model. If you're a web developer, it would be like insisting that you understand, for example, the technology of virtualization used by AWS or Heroku or Google Cloud before you deploy a web app. You just don't need to know it. You can. I'm not saying don't learn it. Go for it next week. This week, what I'm asking you to do is don't wait till you understand everything. Just make something. Start making today if you can. Start building contracts, right? Don't focus on consensus and economics. Study working examples, please. Don't insist on learning Rust. Some people in the community, for some reason, they think it's like it's Rust or bust. I'm not going to bother learning near unless I learn Rust, because that's the only thing that matters. It's not true, actually. There's a lot of parallel, a lot of parity between AssemblyScript and Rust, and you can learn all of the mental models of near using AssemblyScript and then translate those to Rust when you get the language. So focus on the language that's best for you, please. Okay? And then don't add complexity with front-end code this week. Please don't do anything with the front end if you can avoid it. Some of you won't. You're going to insist on doing it for Friday for the demo, and that's fine. More power to you. But don't spend your precious time building front-end code when the goal is to learn how near works. And the interview next week, if you want the verified developer, the hour, I'm not going to ask you one thing about the front end. It's going to all be about the contract code, unit tests, and simulation tests. That's all we're going to talk about. Okay? So for the rest of this week, please focus on what I'm asking you to focus on, because it's going to be intense, right? And I want everybody to have the best chance of succeeding. So where are we? Briefly here. Web 0, the connected web. Let's say if we draw these kind of lines from the middle of the last century, computers were the size of houses, then buses, then desks. Now you have an always-on connected computer on your watch through Bluetooth or maybe the local Wi-Fi network with high-speed internet. There's this readable web, this concept of maybe since ARPANET, universities and research labs connecting with a network, bulletin board systems of the 80s, the early web of the 90s. Today, the readable web is you asking Siri for the weather, and it reads the web to tell you. The writable web is the social web. You know it, right? It's started with maybe bulletin board systems, arguably, in the 80s. But today, it's TikTok and what's that one that everybody's on these days with the phone calls? I can't remember. Huh?
WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Clubhouse.
Yeah, Clubhouse. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Every single time I forget the name. It's a bit silly. Sasha's seen me like every. I'm like, what is that thing called again?
I've never used it. I don't have Apple devices.
Yeah, but the point is that this is the web that you can write, and literally the writable web today is you can turn on an app on your phone, any one of several dozen apps actually, and have a duplex 100 millisecond latency around the globe video call with your friend or family, or stream to your YouTube channel. That's the writable web. I mean, it's absolutely incredible where we are. So if we talk about the trusted web, some people say trustless. I think it's a little bit disorienting because of the double negative. Trusted web, let's say, maybe starts 1970s with a paper by Diffie-Hellman around keeping secrets in public. Okay, and then some innovations in the 80s and the 90s leading up to Bitcoin in 2008, 2009, that white paper, that's generation 0, let's say, of blockchain. Generation 1 is Ethereum, and now we're generation 2, wherever you want to start your indexing. 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We're now in this third generation where on top of Bitcoin, on top of Ethereum, we're talking about reducing costs, increasing speed, improving scalability. So with this trusted web now, what we have is this kind of surface where we can put in to the system, some agreed truth, right? And into this truth, we can put things that we care about, money, identity, we can plant into the soil. So we get out of that decentralized autonomous organizations where we have, source code that can, help us organize ourselves and our finances. We get token economics and mechanism design where you can sort of, change the way people perceive, how things are working, and potential total disintermediation, civics API, borders API, bank API. In a dystopic sense, maybe humans API. So what are some of these ideas? Like there's something called a token curated registry. Everest.link is a website where you can go and add a link and pay, say, $10 to back up your link, to say this is a real thing, it's relevant. Someone can come and challenge that link, pay $10 to challenge. Then there's a group of people that review links and challenges. They get paid from the $20 in there to do this work, and the winner of the challenge takes the balance. If you put a link and someone challenges, you may get $9 and the group that reviews gets $1. If someone puts a link and you challenge and the review is in your favor, then you get $9. The person who posted the link forfeits their 10. So this is token economics, mechanism design. This idea that you can get people to behave in useful and constructive ways by offering some economic incentives that are there for you. And in fact, you could say that the entire security of these networks, proof of work and proof of stake, is kind of dependent on this idea of the economics. It's more expensive to lie than it is to tell the truth. So if you haven't thought about these things before, there's a course here, Token Economics. It's pretty interesting stuff. You'll have a link to this slideshow. And feel free in the Q&A, by the way, to post any questions that you have about this or clarification. But if you want to debate, or if you are taking an issue with something that I'm saying, feel free to challenge here in the chat. Actually say, hey, that's not actually right. It's better this way, or I would explain it that way, to keep the conversation going. If you have a question about it in general that can wait for later, post it into the QA from before. If you have something that you want to discuss right now during the meeting, feel free to just kind of call me out, say, hey, that doesn't really make a lot of sense, or actually I disagree with this, or in support, yeah, that's actually a good example, anything like that, to kind of keep us all on the same page. So hello Near, what is this technology? Here's our story, right? It's cheaper, it's faster, it's easier to use. Let me turn on the light here. Cheaper, faster, and easier to use for development and in production, right? So I'm not going to read these slides to you, you can read them, but there's many JavaScript developers out there. We're trying to make it easier for them to work with this technology. The Rust toolchain, Rust to WASM, because it's a WASM virtual machine that we're using, is the most mature in the industry. So it's fantastic to have Rust as a contract language as well. And the unique account system is a big deal. A lot of people like that. If you're coming from Ethereum, that's going to be your biggest challenge, actually. So if you're familiar with Ethereum development, we're going to need to clear up the difference between the Near account model and the Ethereum account model. Okay, and there are a few optimizations built in here. I assume that you can read this. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. Tell me to speed up or slow down. Anything like that is appropriate, okay? So at a high level, and by the way, previous recordings of this go into much more detail. So I'm trying to make each one of these presentations a little bit different so they can, in aggregate kind of make something that you can binge watch as an intro to the course. And so here we're doing a very light treatment of this. If you want to see a little bit more detail, please watch one of the previous recordings. You can kind of fast forward or look at the table of contents to find what it is that you want to watch. They're all on YouTube. And you just search for NCD Kickoff, or in the landing page, you'll see the previous recordings from the 3 previous cohorts. So here at a high level, you got the blockchain on the right-hand side, RPC interface remote procedure called JSON over HTTP to communicate with the blockchain. That's our API. And then we wrap that with a JavaScript, library that makes it easy in JavaScript to communicate with the API. But we could just as easily do that with Ruby or Go or Kotlin or Swift, right, to wrap this API. So there's no limit to sort of what you can do with that API in the end. It's just an API. You're sending text over the wire, JSON over HTTP. And then your decentralized application, your dApp, will consume that API if it's running in a JavaScript context. If it's a mobile application on iOS, maybe you want to create your own custom Swift wrapper for the RPC interface. If it's on Android, maybe your own custom Kotlin wrapper for the RPC interface. And there are bounties in the community for that. So you can earn money to do that, by the way. And then the bottom below your dApp are all of our tools, the examples, Near Explorer, Near Wallet, Near CLI. So the examples near.dev, there's many examples there you can use. That's a URL, near.dev. Near Explorer, you can type explorer.near.org. That's our blockchain explorer. It shows you, what's happening, the transactions and the validators and what's going on. That's at explorer.near.org. Near Wallet, wallet.near.org is where you would create an account, manage your own wallet, send and receive money, things like that. And then Near CLI is the command line interface. npm install -g for global, near-CLI if you're familiar with Node, but I'll show you instructions a little bit later for that. So
I have
we
one
use
question.
exactly the same. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to know that a decentralized app, what is the exact difference between the normal application and decentralized app? Is it like the app which interacts with the blockchain or which communicate with the smart contract using the Web3.js? Is it called DApp, or how it's exactly difference with the actual application?
Yeah, let me try and answer that. So, and others in the call may have a better answer, so feel free to chime in, by the way. But the word decentralized here is about the resilience of the system. So when you build an application on, a Facebook plugin or whatever, a Facebook app for the market, Facebook can shut you down.
Mhm.
When you open a YouTube channel, YouTube can shut you down. When you have an Instagram account, Instagram can shut you down. That's centralized. There is some authority, be it government or, company, a corporate entity or whatever, multinational, doesn't matter, that can shut you down. It's up to them to decide, do you have the right to exist? That's the key. And this is at an application layer, but also at an infrastructure layer. Like some people use hosting providers that take down the entire website because they get some kind of, request to take down the material, right? So it's at every layer of the application architecture, right? From the application layer, plugins, things like that, down to the sort of infrastructure and kind of, virtualized hardware, I guess, would be the closest thing today. So that's centralized. Some authority can shut you down. Decentralized is nobody can shut you down. No government, no state entity, not the richest person in the world. They can't say, I don't like what you're doing, turn it off. They don't have the power or the means or the technology or the resources to do that. That's what decentralized means effectively. That's the definition, my understanding of it. And so when you're connecting with a blockchain that is well supported, economically viable, decentralized, meaning many validators or many people doing a proof of work, many miners, that gives you the security. As long as one miner or one validator is online, your application will survive. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so suppose if I have an app, okay, I have built a normal app, maybe using any of the front end or maybe any of the web development tools, and so how or where I will deploy to make it or called as decentralized?
Yeah, so we'll get into that, but the decentralized part is the blockchain part.
Okay.
So you send your WASM, your WebAssembly compiled contracts written in AssemblyScript or Rust. You compile them to WebAssembly, and then you send them using a transaction. You send them to the network. It's a deploy contract action. Actually, you send it to the network, and there it lives. It sort of turns on and turns off like a serverless function whenever you call it. You have 200 milliseconds to do your work.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, feel free to interrupt. Yeah, sorry, Sasha. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I will put it like simple way, like literally blockchain allows your application operate, manipulate, read, and write data that is stored on blockchain. It's like kind of nobody can edit like retrospectively. And that's actually the point. When you use like Amazon Cloud or whatever, like they can just cut access to that database or their computation services, whatever. Like blockchain, no.
Okay.
You just use it.
Thank you.
Okay. So, sorry, just Gabriel is asking, can you review the bottom half of the last slide? Very briefly, Gabriel, but please watch the other recordings if you need a little bit more. So in a production side, the Near is, many hundreds or thousands of times cheaper than Ethereum in terms of gas costs. The contract earns 30% of transaction fees. The other 70% are burned. And so the network might become inflationary with enough usage, for example. That's written about in our economics white paper. the sharding protocol reserves the right to redistribute accounts across shards. That's our parallelization story, and maybe we'll see a slide about that here. If not, you can look at other recordings of this presentation where we talk about shards and parallelization and how several organizations in this third generation of blockchain companies are solving this problem, including Polkadot and Solana and Avalanche. And 1 second block time means things are snappy. Ethereum takes 15 seconds. Bitcoin takes 15 minutes to finalize a block. We do it in about a second. There are some organizations that do it faster. And so this is important because it means that your interaction with the blockchain is fast, basically. When you do a thing, you know it's done. Okay?
Gotcha. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Of course, yeah. Keep asking. This is exactly the right thing. Let me be the judge of whether or not we have time to spend and how much time it is. So you be selfish, I'll be sustainably generous, and hopefully everybody else around you as well. Okay, that's kind of the protocol for how we're engaging. So at a lower level, just moving through these steps, again, this is covered in more detail in previous recordings, but very briefly, on the left-hand side, you've got your app. You're using near API.js to interact with the blockchain. You've written your contracts using one of the 2 software development kits for AssemblyScript or Rust. You deploy those to the storage under some account that you've created. And then you use near API.js to send a transaction. It gets applied. The virtual machine will load your code. That's in step 4. Spin up, give you 200 teragas, about 200 milliseconds worth of clock time to do your work, reading and writing to storage, and then send the response back, which you'll then receive and render into your interface or whatever it is. So it's like any other interaction that you would expect with any other API. It's not some unusual structure. The only difference is you're customizing the backend by writing these smart contracts, which are operating some interface for storage and compute on the blockchain. That's what you're getting with these smart contracts. Okay. And again, we spend maybe 15 minutes in previous recordings on that slide and break it down step by step. Okay, so briefly here, let's agree on a path. We're going to be doing this stuff on the left, testnet, localnet, betanet, like stuff that on the left-hand side, we're not going to be digging into mainnet, except I'm going to try and get everybody to deploy a mainnet application in the next 24 hours, actually, that we can use to interact with each other. I've just written something over the weekend that I think might be fun. I'll try and convince you that we should try and deploy it. And then maybe, a third of people in the call will be able to do it. And other people might be incentivized to catch up because, we'll be able to share in this experience together. I'm not going to reveal what it is until we're actually looking at it. So we will be talking about contract literacy, not contract security, right? There's not a lot of stuff that we're digging into with contract security, so just heads up. We could talk about NFTs and fungible tokens and the standards that we have for that and examples that we have, but we're not going to be talking about like token economics. Some people really get into that sort of stuff and like, how do we design this? And there's all sorts of tools for modeling token economics and human behavior around that. Not going to touch it. Near core contracts we'll be talking about, but not sort of moonshot things like, can we port Uniswap to near? Like if you gave me a week, I'm not sure if I could even estimate that. I'm not really sure what that would take. But feel free to ask these questions, but you may not get the answer here in this experience, okay? Just heads up on that. And then cross-contract calls, ability to communicate from one contract to another. This is really Near's scalability story. So as your contract is running, you might fire off 3 or 4 other calls to contracts, which then come back, like asynchronous programming, promise-based programming in JavaScript, you can think of it. It has some similar kind of feel to the code. It feels a little bit similar to that. But we're not going to be talking about the consensus model and sharding, compute, and storage, and sort of the protocol underneath at all. That's out of scope. And I'm not qualified to talk about it. So Nikhil is asking, every function call gets 200 milliseconds. It gets 200 teragas, and 1 teragas is about 1 millisecond, more or less, on the wall clock. So the goal is we want to have the block ticking over once every second of clock time. And so that means we have about 1,000 milliseconds in that 1 second, depending on the block time. Actually, it may shrink a little bit, may increase a little bit. So 200 milliseconds, 200 teragas is good enough to allow a little bit of overhead for cross-contract calls, and then a little bit more overhead for the communication around shards and kind of the gossiping of the state of the network. So that's why 200 milliseconds is so small. All right, and we can dig into that if you like. Yeah. And so we've got, these meetings. I think it's 4 p.m. UTC we started today, right? So every single day, starting at the same time. Today, 60 minutes, max 120 minutes. Friday, 60 minutes as well. Every day, it's about 30 to 60 minutes, depends on how many questions you've got. We've got synchronous activities. That's this kind of stuff, maybe talking about process or aha moments or whatever, demos on Friday. And then lots of asynchronous activities, lots of work on your own. Again, as a junior dev, you should be budgeting 6 to 10 hours a day. And I'm not saying this like, oh, maybe I'll just put in an hour or two, it'll be fine. It won't be fine. It's a lot of work. So brace yourself. Okay, I'll just remind you. And if you don't have time to do it this week, that's fine. Try again in a couple of weeks. Okay. Demonstrations, what are those on Friday? This is what you need to build. So at the end of the week, I'm expecting from you contracts in Rust, AssemblyScript, or both. Maybe you want to have contracts that are collaborating, unit tests for those, simulation tests, mock-ups only for the front end. They could be hand-drawn or using Balsamic or something, but don't implement the front end. Avoid that temptation if you can. And a documentation, of course, that looks like the stuff on the right-hand side. You can barely read it, I'm sure, but these slides are available. This slide hasn't changed for all 4 of these presentations. And the idea here is that this Nearly Neighbors, for example, is like a Kickstarter for your neighborhood projects. You might say, I want a coffee shop, within a 1 mile radius of my house, and I'm willing to put $100 in as an early investor in that. It gets locked up somewhere. When the proposal hits its threshold for minimum capitalization, then it automatically creates a project that manages the construction of that coffee shop, let's say, and then when you show up in the coffee shop, you get recognized because your account is registered there on chain for your free coffee, a year's worth of free coffee or whatever that is, right? So this is the idea of this project, and it's a complete project in that sense. There are some placeholders here and there, some rough edges here or there, but this will give you a sense of sort of the scope of what we're expecting on Friday. Okay. There are other examples as well, 3 sample projects, and now I think more than 4 demo projects, maybe almost 10 demo projects, like 9 or 10 demo projects. So I need to update this slide actually. Let's make that 9 demo projects. And if you click on this link, it should open up the NCD filter here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 projects. These are demo projects. I think you can see that okay, right? These are demo projects in the Learn Near organization. Here's the URL to see these demo projects. So if you want to see what other people have built, go for it. All right. So, and now there's actually, I think, 4 sample projects as well. But we can talk about that in a minute. Okay, so this library will continue to grow. The way this works is when you give the demo at the end of the week, I ask you to submit your URL, and then I fork it into this organization, so we can keep track of what you've produced for your demo. Right, so you put it anywhere you want, and then we'll fork it in. You can see all of these ones on the right-hand side are forked in here, and then the ones on the left I've written myself, or in collaboration with other people, right, somehow. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a good sense of the demos and the scope and where you can find these. It's going to be an intense week. Brace yourself. I'll say that again. Okay, so what kind of changes, Hajar is asking, are we expected to do? Hajar, I don't quite understand what you mean by changes you're expected to do. Can you clarify that either verbally or in text? Can you explain what you mean? What kind of changes are we expected to do? Okay, so you're not speaking up, so I assume that you'll do it by text, but I'm not quite sure what you mean. If anybody else knows what she means by this, please let me know. And then Flex13 is saying, to deploy a code, what should I do on Ubuntu? Yeah, so we'll talk about deployment for sure. So no stress. We'll walk through the steps of all this stuff and help you with it. There's no rush. You don't need to do it right now. Okay. So defining success. Yeah, of course. So this course, L1, is what this week ends you. You finish the course with a demo. L1V is 60-minute code interview with me or any other qualified code reviewer. The team will grow to be able to do that. Maybe you want to be a code reviewer for future cohorts. We can have that conversation as well. But at a minimum, you would need to know enough to be able to make a judgment about whether someone's understood what it is they've done. So I'm the only one who's doing that right now. and maybe others internal to NEAR will be invited to do that. But eventually, I would like to see some of the graduates of this program also help cover some of that as a peer review. Okay, so sorry, just to cut off here, Hajar is clarifying additions to the contract. So what kind of changes are we expected to do in terms of additions to the contracts? Thanks, Hajar, for clarifying. So you're expected to write your own contracts from zero, from a blank file, actually. To write your own contract, set up your own project, deploy it, include unit tests, simulation tests, documentation, front end, the whole deal. If you've been to a boot camp, it's like a final project in the boot camp, but I don't need the front end. I would prefer designs, unit tests, simulation tests, a working contract on technology that you're maybe only seeing for the first time today. It's not going to be an easy week. I'll say that again. There's a lot of work this week. It's going to be intense. Okay? I believe if you're committed to it, you can do it. That's no problem. Okay, and level 2 and level 3 are basically, you know, these numbers. I'm not really sure. We're still figuring out exactly what constitutes level 2 or level 3 in terms of the size of your applications. Maybe some of you will have mainnet applications in a week or two. That would be amazing. But for now, this is kind of the notional idea. And if you're curious about sort of the sketch for what these courses, this level compares to the next 2 levels of courses, I'm happy to share that with you. And for the time being, all these courses are either free or paid. Eventually in the future, we might charge for these things. It depends on what we decide to do with this. All right. So then what? What can you do after this? People always ask, what can I do next? So you can check out near.academy. You can do that today if you want. In fact, you don't need to wait. Near.academy is a URL. It's a very simple 8-chapter walkthrough. You can take a look at the code, read some stuff, and it will walk you through the meme museum, actually, which is on the left-hand side. You can see the middle project here, sample meme museum. That's Near Academy, the code behind that. Figment Learn Pathway, you get paid something about $20 to spend 30 to 60 minutes learning about Near code. The Bounties program, you can earn more money solving our problems. The Grants program, you can earn money solving your own problems of your own design. And the Open Web Collective, you can join startups that are building businesses there. So this is what you could do next in terms of Near. Okay, so let's get to it. And then I've got a demo for you. We might go over a little bit, but it's optional. It'll be recorded. If you want to drop off at the hour, that's perfectly fine. No problem at all. You just watch the recording. So if you have children who have reached the age of 3 or 4 or 5, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about because you've watched them evolve. You personally may have forgotten what it feels like to learn without any shame or any hesitation, to be completely selfish in the way you're consuming time around you. I have a daughter, she's 4.5. If she could get me to play with her and read books to her 20 hours a day, she would do it without any hesitation. She would do it. She is totally and utterly selfish and has been for a couple of years, and it's necessary because otherwise I might get too distracted with work or, my own deal. She reminds me it's my primary job to help her learn and grow and develop. And so I'm telling you now, your best stance is that of a 3-year-old child this week. Get what you need to get. You don't need to ask anybody's permission. If you're confused, make sure somebody knows about it. If you need help, make sure somebody hears about it. Me, Sasha, or anybody on your team, anybody else in the cohort. Okay? That's important for this to work out. You've really got to be shamelessly selfish. And of course, we have people from all over the world, from different cultures here. Just to be absolutely clear, you will never hear Sasha or me try and catch you or trick you or judge you or make fun of you if you ask a question which is maybe a basic question or a beginner question. Never going to happen, not once. In fact, that's not allowed. So commit yourself now, please, to being shamelessly selfish to get what you need and being sustainably generous to give back to this community if you know something and you can help other people. Okay? Hopefully this feels welcoming and exciting for everybody. In the end, this is a race together for us to learn. The competition is us as a team against confusion and overwhelming odds and a significant amount of work. We're all in this together, moving through this. So Shankar is asking, when you say about building the contracts from the bottom up in Scratch, do we need to come up with an idea and build smart contract on that, or the requirements will be given? It's up to you, Shankar. I'm happy to help you with requirements. There are several sample projects there, maybe 15 in total that you can draw inspiration from. If you want to try a variant on one of those ideas, that's perfectly fine. It should be like meaningfully original work, obviously. And you're going to have to like explain the differences, right? So you don't just want to clone one of the projects and like tweak a name of a variable or something and call it original. That's not going to fly. So I would prefer that you come up with your own design, but naturally the solution space is going to kind of like shrink as we have more people, more cohorts, right? In the last project, there were 2 or 3 demos that were actually quite similar in terms of the problem they were solving. You'll see that if you look at the demos. My hope is that you'll come up with something that's exciting and interesting for you. If you want some suggestions, I'm happy to give you suggestions. Other people will be also giving suggestions. But more to the point, when you get with your group today, you should come up with the idea today. In the next 24 hours, you should figure out, what are you going to build? Don't wait until Wednesday or Thursday. It's too late at that point. So decide on some idea, ask for help today or tomorrow. In the next 24 hours, you want to settle on the idea and actually start working on it. So how will this week progress? How much time should I commit? How do I spend my time? How do I ask for help? What if I fall behind? What if I get sick or busy? And then the progress here and outcomes. So let's talk very briefly about this, just 1 minute on each of these here: expectations, progress, and outcomes. So today we meet. At the end of this meeting, you'll form groups. In those groups, you'll spend the week working to produce a demo, learning, asking questions, helping each other, and growing together. You should commit as much time as you need. If you're an Ethereum developer with a couple of years of experience building and shipping applications to mainnet Ethereum, it'll probably take you an hour a day of focused work to knock this course out of the park. You're going to spend most of your time in the first 2 or 3 days rearranging your mental models about Ethereum development versus Near development. That's a professional blockchain developer. Maybe an hour a day you can do this, no problem. A senior developer, 5-10 years of experience, it's going to take you 2 hours, maybe 4 hours a day, depending on how deep you want to go, actually. A junior developer, 6 hours, 4 to 6 minimum, I would say, for a junior dev, maybe out of boot camp, up to maybe 10 hours a day. That's what's going to be necessary in order to get over the hump of being disoriented by all the moving parts. And the sooner you put in that work earlier in the week, the easier everything will become. Okay, so hopefully that helps. How do you ask for help? You'll see in the Discord, there's a help channel, a global help channel. There is a day channel, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then your group channel. So if you're stuck with something about your group, ask in the group channel. Maybe escalate it to the day channel. If you're stuck with something about the day, just ask it right there. Other people will be wondering the same thing. If it's a general help question, ask in help. And you're always welcome to go to near.chat. It's the main Near Discord server where we have 1,000 people in that community, and ask there, no problem. So that's the help protocol. If you fall behind or get sick or busy, it's no problem. We're not going to slow down for you. There are no heroes among us. We're all moving through the same struggle. Just come back in a couple of weeks. You're more than welcome. I would recommend for progress, you do the same thing every day. Pick a problem today that you're struggling with and check it again and again every single day. Give yourself 15, 20 minutes to look at the same contract that was confusing from today and see how it feels like. Tomorrow it will be easier. Wednesday it will be very easy. By Thursday, you probably could write it yourself. And outcomes. We discussed L1 versus LV. So you get a demo end of the week, that's L1. Pass the 60-minute interview next week, that's L1V. By yourself, you should be surveying code, reading through the code, maybe cloning repos, running tests, things like that, right? Something on the order of a few hundred to 1,000 lines of code a day is what you want to be reading. You know, it's a lot of code. You don't need to understand every single line. The more that you get into your head early, the easier it'll be tomorrow and the day after to read through the code, because your mind will adjust to the syntax. So more code early is better for you, as much as you possibly can read, actually. You're going to be pairing, doing group work, maybe sync and async with your team. Sometimes you'll jump on a Discord call to sort something out or whatever, no problem. And same start time, probably 60 minutes, 90 minutes with a group this big. And on Thursday, we'll ask you to commit. What is your demo? What's the name of your demo, the name of your team, and maybe some other details you'll find in the website when you go to submit your Thursday completion work. Okay, so let me just quickly do a show and tell for you. At this point, if you want to wrap up, the only thing that's left is forming groups. So maybe we can do that first, actually, Sasha, form groups. And then, and I'm not going to open the spreadsheet here in the browser. I'll stop sharing. Let's form groups for 5 minutes, and then we'll go back to this show and tell demo, if you mind. So,
One sec. Actually, the spreadsheet says that the access is denied to it.
okay, yeah. So we just need access to the spreadsheet.
Should be good now. Can you please confirm?
Nice.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Thank you, Sasha.
So I put my name in group A here. It's my name, or maybe even my mainnet account would be better, right? So Sharif.near, and then my time zone, and maybe my preferred language. So these are 3 tokens that you can put into these slots: your mainnet account name, your time zone, and your preferred language. And in this way, what we'll be able to do is actually get into groups if you prefer to speak Russian or Arabic or Hindi. This is going to be important for you because as you get confused, you're going to want to ask people in your native language to think through some of these ideas. So try and form groups based on your preferred language, your preferred time zone, and if you can, on top of that, people that you haven't worked with before. Right? So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we may need other groups. Feel free to just pick a group, put in your name, other people will follow you, right? So I can see-
We currently don't have edit access as far as I'm...
Just refresh.
Oh, gotcha, thank you.
Yeah, it was updated. No, for sure. Sorry about that. There was a problem. If you refresh, you'll have edit access, and you should be able to go in there. So sorry about that confusion. There's edit access now. Please go in and type in, I don't know if you saw me typing before, I think you did, where I typed in my name, my time zone, and my preferred language. And that way you can find an affinity group. I see learn.near has put, maybe that's Sasha there.
Yeah,
on the
this is me.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sharif.near, GMT +3, and then ENG
Mine
for...
is still showing view only, even if I refresh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just one second, please.
Hey,
let me just
do you mind
fix
making
that.
it as a public doc, because I don't use Gmail?
Can you please refresh? Yeah, you should be able to just refresh now and get in there.
We only have permission to view, not to edit.
Can you try refreshing?
I did.
Sorry about that. Yeah, if you refreshed once, please refresh again. I just made a
Now
change.
it works.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I just made a change to the sharing, no problem. So you can type your name, your time zone, and your preferred language. I see everybody's in there editing. Forgive me for the challenge there with getting the editor permissions, but I've got it now. So please go in, pick a group, don't worry about it. Oh, sorry, so Simon Palmer, I don't mean AssemblyScript or Rust, I mean your spoken language, English, Russian, Hindi, something like that.
Okay, got it, thanks.
Yeah, don't worry about, AssemblyScript or Rust.
Unless you speak just AssemblyScript.
Yeah, maybe that would totally work. Yeah, so if you speak 2 languages or you're comfortable with 2 languages, that's fine. Obviously, you can put those in there. But the goal, why you're putting the language, is to help other people when they see the group think, oh yeah, okay, this is a group that speaks Hindi, let me join that one. I'm gonna enjoy learning about Near speaking Hindi and English mixed. It'll be good for me, or Arabic and English mixed, or whatever the deal is. Be careful about editing each other's cells, please. That happens sometimes. You might overwrite each other's cells. And we want to limit each group maybe to a maximum of 4 people if we can. So that'll be almost 10 groups there. Yeah, so I've got 11 groups here. Maybe I don't need this K group. Okay, so yeah, please get into your groups. I'm just going to move these folks over in group G. I'm going to move you up one. No, maybe not. Okay, so it looks like someone's editing that sound. Okay, that's fine. Uh-oh, shut down near. That's an aggro name. I love it. So I think Hajar, I saw your name appear and disappear in cell A4. Can you please confirm? It says IT. Someone may have accidentally overwritten it. Yeah, so you're looking for your name,
Yeah,
your time.
I joined another group. Is that
Good
okay?
enough. Of course, yeah, good enough. Yeah, no problem at all. So yeah, so the goal is to get into these groups. It's 8:07. Let's do our best to get into the groups now. When you're done with the group, can you please come over here to this yellow cell, or maybe this green cell over here? Just put your cursor on that so we know you're finished. That way the screen will be a little bit less disorienting for people. Okay, so when you're finished, it looks like group E may be a little bit large with 5 people. That's going to be hard to coordinate. I would stick to 3 or 4 people per group. You want to be in your time zone with 3 or 4 people. Of course, if it's not going to work out, that's fine. If there's 5 people, it's not a major problem. But just be aware that it's going to be a little bit difficult to coordinate that. It's a lot of people, a lot of moving parts. Who's working on what? You might want to break up into 2 groups, one group of 2, one group of 3, for example. You might produce 2 demos, even though you're working as a group. That'll work as well. But in a week, it's hard to manage the logistics of like 5 people working on a shared code base is not an easy thing. So just be aware of that. It's going to be harder to do that. So if you're in a group of 5, that's fine. You can operate as a group of 5, but maybe you split up and make 2 demos, 3 people, 2 people, something like that. Or maybe one of you makes your own demo. Just be aware, okay? So again, when you're done, please come over to A18 or whatever that cell is here. Okay, and let's try and wrap this up here. Looks like there's several groups of 5. So what's this IT in A4? Can I delete that? Okay.
Hi, Sharif. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry, but I missed the last 7 minutes of the meeting, and I'm kind of lost where you are, guys, right now.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for saying something. There is this link here to a Google Doc. So if you just logged in, you may not have seen that. And this Google Doc is a list of groups A through J. The goal is to get together with a group using your near account name on mainnet, your time zone, and your preferred spoken language, so that you can form a group and coordinate efforts with them this week. 3, 4 people is ideal in a group. Some groups are 5. I personally think it's going to be hard to coordinate this week, but it's really up to you. Maybe you know something I don't about how groups work, but in my experience, a group of 5 people is hard to get on the same page. 4 is okay. 3 is pretty easy. And it's less lonely than 2 if someone's sick. All right.
So what are the time zones exactly?
So the time zones are where people live, right? So depending on what time zone you're in, it's going to be logistically challenging to meet. If you're in San Francisco and someone else is in Hyderabad, that's going to be challenging to find times that overlap. So I'm recommending that people stick in there, kind of close to their time zone. Okay. So when you're done, please come down here to line A18 so we can see that you're finished. I'm not sure if we can tell if everybody's finished or not. So we'll give it just maybe 1 more minute and then we'll be done with this. So the group should be almost done. We've spent about 5 minutes on this. It should be good to go. Sasha, I see we're missing groups H, I, J. So let me just add them. and you'll find your group in the Discord server. So whatever group you pick in this list here, please find your group in the Discord channel and begin your communications, starting with the day one activities. Does anybody still need more time to do this? If so, please speak up. If not, please join me here in column A18 to signal that you're finished. I see lots of cursors all over the page here. When you're done, if you're not thinking about this anymore, please join us over here. If you've stepped away for some reason, obviously you can't hear me, no stress, but we're trying to wrap this up so we can move on with the next step. It's been close to 10 minutes now. Maybe we're 7 or 8 minutes in this organization. We should be almost done. If there aren't any other blockers, you know what to do. I'm going to keep going. Please join your groups, small groups, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, whichever group you're in. It's okay to move around groups today. Please get that all settled by tomorrow at the latest. You don't want to be bouncing around in groups tomorrow. It's too late for you. You need to connect with other people in the group, spend some time introducing yourself, maybe say a hello message, maybe jump on a shared phone call together in a voice channel.
Hey, people are overriding each other names. Just make sure you're not on somebody's.
Oh, yeah. If you're overwriting other people's names, please don't do that. And you have a voice channel and a text channel, by the way. For your small group, okay? Okay, so I'll just move on at this point. If anybody has any questions, you're welcome to interrupt me. You get the idea, I think. We've spent about 10 minutes on this. I think it's enough for group formation. Jump into your group. And again, I'm recommending that you introduce yourself. I'll put into day one what I think you could say if you wanted to. You know, introductions. You can add something like, you know, why you are here, what your most embarrassing moment of last week was, because that will kind of help people kind of get to know each other. Maybe a small joke that you always liked, and then your favorite Web3 dApp that you've used, if you've used any Web3 dApps. Okay, so that's my suggestion for introductions. If you have some better idea, feel free to use it. If you're not quite sure what to do with the introductions, there's an idea for you. Okay, so moving on, there's also a Russian channel. There, you may have noticed a Russian language channel, and you may have noticed a Chinese language channel as well. We can have other languages. Feel free to request a language if there are enough people who speak, for example, you know, Arabic or Hindi that want their own channel to coordinate. That's perfectly fine. We can do that. It's really not a big deal. Just ask for it. Okay. So moving on. What I'd like to do, yeah, if you can't edit, yeah, sorry, Gabriel, there's no group in any particular time zone. It's whatever the time zone is that that people have put, and people are kind of coordinating around that. So maybe that's clear at this point, I guess. If you can't edit, you just need to refresh the page. If you can't edit, just refresh the page. The Google Docs page. That was a problem for the first 5 minutes, but now it's not a problem. You should just be able to refresh and use that. Okay. Okay, if there aren't any other questions, it's 8:15. I'd like to jump now into this this demo. And for some of you, I think this will be interesting because I'll invite you actually to deploy an application on a testnet account and on a mainnet account if you're feeling brave. Okay, so this demo will take me about, I don't know, 10 minutes or something, 15 max. And then if you want to step through it with me, I'm willing to spend another 30 minutes after that, helping people kind of walk through and so on. But if you see what I'm doing and you're comfortable with working in your terminal, with Node, with Git, with Bash, it should be pretty easy actually. If those technologies are uncomfortable for you, you're probably not going to figure it out in 30 minutes. It might take us an hour or two. So just keep asking for help and I'll keep helping you. Okay, that's kind of the plan. All right, so so here is, let's see, you can see my desktop, I think. Is that right? Can you see this? I'm in.
Yeah, everything's visible.
Okay, that's pretty intense noise in the signal there. The microphone sounds like it's clipping out. Whoever just spoke, I didn't quite understand what you said. Okay, it looks
apologies.
Like
it's a Ubuntu problem. Everything's fine now with my audio, yeah, and everything's fine on your screen as well.
Okay, beauty. Yeah,
that's
no
all I
worries.
said.
Nice. It was like, man, somebody's really upset about this group planning. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so look, I've got 5 steps here. I'm just going to walk through these really quick, and I'm going to tell you briefly. So I'll take like a minute or so and move through this. If you find this confusing or overwhelming, please don't worry. Just ask for help. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Sasha is suggesting something to adjust your name in Discord. So you're saying not mainnet account, but actually your first name and then a pipe character and then your mainnet account, Sasha? Is that what you prefer for the names?
It doesn't matter. Like I personally prefer to call people like with their first names and near account. And this is mandatory here. This is why we are here. Like when people ask when do we use near, we use it right here.
Okay, so definitely you want the mainnet account in the name. And then if you also want to use your first name, you're welcome to do that, right? But that's not mandatory, you're saying. Some people may want to remain pseudonymous, for example, right? And that's perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't have to tell us your name. If you can imagine that, we're working together and I don't need to know your name. I just need your attention, actually. And I need your commitment to the work. Your name is your own if you want to keep it. That's fine. I can respect that. So this is a brief demo. You're going to need one mainnet account. If you don't already have one, please let me know before we get off this call. I'd love to send you 5 near to get set up to do that. 2 testnet accounts, wallet.testnet.near.org. Create a couple of testnet accounts. You'll have them, no problem. The faucet funds you with 200 near. Wallet.testnet.near.org. You can do it right now. Use the email recovery method. It's the fastest thing. It's not secure, but it's super fast. All right. So the technologies that we're going to need: Node.js, Git, and Near CLI. If you're familiar with Node, this is how you install Near CLI. If you're not, please ping me later. And that's all the text that's here. I'm going to split my screen left and right. I'm going to use environment variables to manage some of the details, and you can try, export, we're all equal in this life if you want, whatever your variable names are, key value pairs with an equal in between, no space. And then if you get an error about missing environment variable, it's like the all caps thing, right? And you can echo $sign to dereference the variable or read the value, whatever. And then whatever the name of the variable is, all caps, okay? So this is basic sort of bash and tools. If you're uncomfortable at this point, no stress at all. This isn't a prerequisite. Just keep asking. I'll gladly help you with it. On the left-hand side, I'm going to clone the thanks repo. It's github.com/learn thanks. So this, you should know now, is the GitHub organization that we're using. There is a repository called thanks, and that's the one I'm going to be demonstrating for you. There's another one called Near Account Utils that I'll be using for visibility, reporting, right? Inspecting the state of the blockchain. So that I just posted into the chat, the github.com/learn-near is the GitHub organization. And I'm going to be cloning both of these repos. On the left-hand side, nothing for the first few minutes. I'm just going to play with a couple of commands: near CLI, near state. You can do your account.testnet or your account.near. You can do this on mainnet and on testnet, and I'll show you how to switch between the two. And then I'm going to run the storage. This utils in the right-hand side has storage to be able to see the storage behind the account. Okay, so you'll see what that looks like for some of these accounts. And we want to get this thanks set up, this application. So on the left hand side, I'm going to build and then deploy thanks to my testnet account. At that point, if you've been following along, you can actually also read the state. If you have Near CLI installed, you can actually do this from your computer. It's all public information, by the way. And then on the right hand side, I'm going to turn on a monitor for my deployed contract, and I'm going to start interacting with the contract. Okay, so that's what we're about to do. It's been about 4 or 5 minutes. I'm explaining it. Now I'm going to get it done, hopefully in the next 5-10 minutes max. So here we go. So let's get over here, and you can still see my screen, right? It's left and right panels. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. How's the font size? Is it okay?
It's a little bit too small.
Yeah, okay, that's going to be a little bit tricky here because the formatting of these tools is roomy. So I may need to mess around with the formatting a little bit. Let's see how it goes, okay? So so now what do I want to do? I'm in this cloned repo called thanks. It's just in my personal folder on my computer. I'm running a Mac. I've got Node installed, and I've got Near CLI installed as a prerequisite. Okay, that's where I'm at. Everybody cool? If you're not sure what I'm doing, that's okay, but we're not going to be able to cover it in the next 5 minutes. Just keep asking. Okay, and if you are comfortable with what I'm doing, like just keep up, no problem at all. You get the idea, right? It's called Near CLI. Do we have a guide? Yeah, I mean, look, Flex, I'm happy to write a guide for you. I've got these pages. If you need more, then I'm happy to make it. So I'm avoiding the temptation to make the perfect guide for everybody until you ask for it. Then I'll make what you need. But before then, you have 40 people in this cohort, maybe 10 of which I'm sure would love to help with any question, and the others might be a little bit too busy or something like that. Yeah, so anyway, maybe that's enough on that. And so now this Near CLI, if I just type Near, I'll get this. Again, that kind of formatting is a little bit tricky in this width, but it looks something like this, and you can see all these different commands like create account, check state, check the keys. I'm going to play with state and keys right now. Near state near state sharif.testnet will report to me that I have an account here. It has 19,000 near on it, funny money on testnet. It has a contract attached to it because of the code hash. So if you're coming from Ethereum, this is different. The accounts is like having ENS built in. There's a friendly name like this, .testnet on testnet, .near on mainnet. And this gives you some metadata about that. We can check another contract, near state, maybe amgondo.testnet. I think I have an account there. No. How about ajax.testnet? Yeah, so this account here has no contract installed. An account on Near has one or no contracts, 0 or 1 contracts deployed. You make the account, you deploy the contract to it, and then you can call methods on that contract. That's the setup. Okay. Yeah, Wong, you have a question? Wong, you have your hand raised? You have a question? Okay, just interrupt me if you end up with a question. So that's Near state, and then Near keys. You can see here, I have several keys on this testnet account, and these keys are one of 2 types. It's either a full access key here. Yeah, 1 contract per account, Adrian. And then you can have sub accounts. And that's what we're about to do, is to deploy the thanks contract to a sub account so that it's thanks.sharif.testnet. I'm about to show you how to do that. Full access keys and function call access keys. Those are the 2 types. On Near, there are 8 actions, 4 associated with identity: create account, delete account, add key, delete key. Those 4 actions. You can see that in our docs, docs.near.org. Create account, delete account, add key, delete key. 2 associated with money: stake and transfer, and 2 associated with code: deploy contract, call function, function call. Okay, those are the 8 things that you can do, the 8 basic things you can do. A REST API, you've got the HTTP verbs, and you've got your CRUD operations. So on Near, there's 8 things that you can do. From the outside, you can do them by sending a transaction to the network. And from the inside, you can do them using cross-contract calls. One contract can deploy another contract. One contract can add a key to another contract. If that makes sense. So another account. And here the word account and contract is basically the same thing on near, because an account may or may not have a contract deployed to it. Okay, so that's the keys. You can see the keys will be different depending on the account that I'm using. So here's ajax.testnet keys. I may only have a couple of keys here, several full access keys, right? And one function call access key. Okay, so that's my keys. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say that your name.testnet, is it like a wallet? Because if it is a wallet, then how we are deploying contract in it? So like there's some confusion.
Yeah, no problem. So I think the best thing that I can do is to open here just a browser, oops, and show you that the wallet, this is my Sharif.near account. I have 3.9 near in this account. Yeah, sure. The wallet is a web-based interface that keeps my keys inside of local storage on the browser, or I can use the ledger if I want a hardware wallet, something like a ledger, right? The ledger works with near to be able to sign transactions. For any high value wallet, you do that. But I'm not talking about the wallet, I'm talking about accounts. So a wallet is a terrible name for the software that holds your private keys, your secrets, your password that you use for signing transactions, right? That's what a wallet is. Yeah. An account is your name, and an account includes the account name, any data in storage, any contract that's been deployed, any keys that are attached, and several other things. That's an account on near. And if you want to look for a place where you can learn more about this and read the specifications for some of you that maybe want to move more quickly, you can go to the Nomicon here. This is the link to that, and read about the account model with all of the details here that you'll find about the account, different account IDs. Here's the list of data that you find on an account, right? So there's a ton of information here in this Nomicon. This is not the same as our docs. Which is also another great resource. And this is not the same as near.org/learn, which is yet another good resource. So these are maybe the three best places for you to start and roll up your sleeves and dig in. So now we're taking a look at this thing, and I want to look at something else now. I want to do, here I can run in yarn storage accounts, collect keys, whatever. I want to run storage. So yarn storage, and then maybe sharif.testnet and see what that looks like. And this is, some problem because I haven't run yarn yet. The module is not found if you're not familiar with Node. So now I've run yarn or npm install, and now I can run this program. And you see, of course, the formatting is terrible. This is what the storage will look like when it's full. Okay, so we're about to do this. If I want to, I can export, this is the environment. If you're not familiar with the environment, I can export an environment variable called near env to be mainnet if I want. And now when I run something like near state sharif.testnet, it'll say, I don't know what you're talking about, but I can look at my mainnet account, and you'll see the 3 near, the 2.9 or whatever near that I have there on this account. So this piece of text is how you set that variable in your terminal. Again, if you're familiar with this stuff, it's obvious to you at this point. If you're not familiar with it, then it's going to take you more than a couple of minutes to figure it out, and that's fine. So now I'm going to run yarn storage, a specific account that I set up this week that has this thanks application on it called thanks.fuzzydice.near, and you'll see that this account on mainnet has a contract deployed with this data in it. This is the account that has this thanks application running. It has an owner. It allows anonymous thank yous. it has received one contribution totaling 5 times 10 to the 24, if you can see that. 5 times 10 to the 24. Near is measured in Yocto near. So 10 to the 24 is basically 5 near. And 5 has been transferred actually to Fuzzy Dice. Okay, and this is another account that I control. I'm writing them, something like appreciate you. Okay, so this is the thing that we're about to set up. Okay, so now let's do it. It's going to be a little bit tricky with this kind of sliding back and forth like this, but we can see how it goes. These are all the files. I'm going to run dev deploy first for testnet. Just a time check, we're at 8:30. So I'll deploy the contract here briefly, and then I will show you how we can actually monitor that, how we run the report, and so on. Okay, so let's check it out. So now I'm going to need to npm install or yarn, because I've just cloned this. You saw there's no node modules folder here. So now I've installed dependencies, and I'm going to run scripts dev deploy. This is going to tell me, hey, you're missing the contract and the owner, but I don't care. That's fine. I'm just going to try and delete these two things, and I wasn't able to. Then it's going to clean up this near dev folder for local keys for development. Then it's going to run yarn run build. Yeah, that's great, no problem. Okay, now it's going to redeploy the contract, and we're going to end up with this account ID. So when we're using dev deploy, this is a specific command, dev deploy, that generates an account for us and throws a contract in there. It's a time-stamped account, so we don't need to worry about making our own accounts. So for development, it's super fast. Okay, so this is the account. Let me export. Let me do. What is my near env right now? It needs to be on testnet. No, it's on mainnet. So let me export. You can also unset if you want to clear this thing out. Unset near env. Obviously, maybe you know that already. So export near env equals testnet. Now yarn storage, and I'll put in this dev account that was generated for me. And you'll see here, no records found. So there is an account near state, and I can near state, and I can paste this. We'll see there is an account. It does have a contract deployed because it's not all ones. It's not the default code hash. There is a contract deployed. It takes up 30 kilobytes, and there's 200 near on this dev account that was just created by the near CLI command called near dev deploy. And I want to show you here briefly that these scripts are just right here. It's just bash. So here's the dev deploy command, and after I build release, I'm just pulling that down. So these are all very readable. Okay, so there is a contract. There is and there is an account that was just built. There is a contract deployed to this account, and now we want to check out the storage. And we ran it. We got no records found. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run this watch program that's going to maintain visibility on this contract, just like looping. Right? So actually I could do this with like an export contract equals, and then type that in. And now I can do watch contract, if you see that command, and it's just going to loop now every second, just kind of, watching this contract. Okay. Now over here, I'm going to take this, export contract equals, and paste that in as well. And then I'm going to copy this command right down here, near call contract. But first I need to set the owner actually. So echo owner is blank. So export owner is maybe sharif.testnet. What's my near environment here? It's blank, so that's the same as testnet. That's fine. I can make it explicit. so I don't get confused. And now I'm going to run this command. And when I run this, I want you to keep your eye on the right-hand side of the screen because it's about to light up. So I'm going to run this. Keep your eye on the right-hand side. The transaction's complete, and boom, there it goes. My contract is now initialized. And this is from the blockchain, the serialized object that represents the contract, serialized as JSON. And if you want to see what that looks like on the contract level, I know we're 5 minutes over the demo walkthrough, but for some people who are keeping up, this will save you some time. When you clone thanks, you'll see in the AssemblyScript folder this index.ts. And here, if you look, there's a class called contract. We could have called it banana if we want to, doesn't matter. Contract. And then there's an owner, allow anonymous is a Boolean, contributions. Those are the three sort of members there of this contract. Oh boy. And so here you can see owner, allow anonymous, and contributions. So just to remind you again, owner, allow anonymous, and contributions. Because of near bind gen, this contract can be serialized to JSON on the blockchain. And so when I initialize the contract, its state kind of whips up and it gets serialized on chain. So I'll stop with like the amount of details at this point, but what I want to show you now is that actually I can call this contract. So scripts, say thanks. Thanks so much for being here, and see if that works. I don't think the exclamation point helps in Bash. Missing speaker variable, so export speaker is maybe ajax.testnet. That's another account that I have, and let me try that. On the right-hand side, you should see that method appear, the results of that method. Ajax says, thanks so much for being here with no contribution. Let's try that again. And this time I'm going to add maybe, 3 near. And so again, you'll see this contribution gets added, but this time the contributions also lights up. I've just sent money from ajax.testnet, this 3 near contribution. Again, that's 10 to the 24. So that's 3 near. And that gets added here total and received. And if I want to, I can keep going. If I try and do this again with another 3 near, I'll get an error because it's going to look pretty bad, but it's not. The maximum contributions have been reached. Please transfer funds, because we have an assert statement there that is stopping us. Here's that assert statement. Maximum contributions. Assert financial safety limits is happening whenever you try and say something to the contract. We're asserting these safety limits in case you decide to go cowboy on me and deploy this to mainnet. I don't want you holding a bunch of money in an account that hasn't been reviewed for security. So it'll stop you. But now, actually, I want to transfer some funds. So let's do near state Ajax. This is dev account, but I am the owner, sharif.testnet. So state sharif.testnet. 19,730 near in this account. Now watch, I'm going to issue a transfer, and then this 3 near is going to show up. It'll be 19,733. Okay, so scripts. We can run a report first, maybe. Here's a report, what it looks like. You'll see, these people have commented. You don't have to do this report. And this is the financial work here. So not forgetting, set 19,000. Let me bring this up again. This number should change to 733. So scripts transfer. That'll transfer to the owner. You'll see the right-hand side received will move to transferred. Okay, so that just happened. And then 19,730 should become 19,733. So that money just got transferred to the owner of the contract. So that's a quick tour of this contract. It's this file here, 100 lines of code, and this file here with some models, for the message and contribution tracker. If you're familiar with JavaScript or TypeScript, this should look like, a good friend that you haven't seen in a while. If you're not familiar with JavaScript or TypeScript, this might be a little bit disorienting for you, but just keep asking questions. And the key piece is, if we look at sort of what did we actually do here? In step 1, I just set up my windows. In step 2, I cloned the repositories. In step 3, on the right-hand side, I played with, near state, the near CLI, near keys, near storage to view all this stuff. That's all that happened there, right? And then on the left-hand side, I also ran this, a dev deploy instead of the deploy script. I'll do the deploy script for you now to show you what it looks like to deploy to mainnet and testnet, no problem. And on the right-hand side, I had this watch command watching storage, actually. Yeah, when I run dev deploy, it says missing contract. Yeah, that's right. It'll say that the first time because you don't have that variable. Then what you want to do after that is type export contract equals, and then like the dev, whatever the number is, you want to do that, and that'll be your contract. Not that one, obviously, dev 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but whatever the one is that you are using. And then here, what we did with this is we just started using the scripts, after this. These scripts here, which you can read about in the README. There's a some documentation here that explains all of these things in the README of the repository, which you can go and check out now. Learn-near is the organization. Thanks is the name of the repository. If you want to run this on Linux, Mac, or Windows, we've got some notes down here for you. And so I'm hoping that this has given you kind of a clear sense of what you could be doing with these contracts. Now what I'd like to do is, if anybody wants to take the challenge of actually cloning this repo and deploying a contract to their testnet account, I'd like to send you some tokens. So has anybody done that? Please raise your hand in the Zoom call. You can do it with a little click, I think. I'd like to see how many people have tried to do this. Gosh, I don't know where it is in my interface here, but there's a way to raise your hand. You should be able to click on something to raise hand. Okay, so it looks like Yassine and the gentleman whose name isn't appearing, but you spoke a little bit earlier with the mic on Ubuntu.
Is there a way that we can request for these afterwards?
Request for what?
Request
notes?
for near test near.
I'm
near
sorry,
on
wait,
testnet.
I don't understand what you're. Oh, can you get near on testnet? Yeah, I mean, what you should do is just go to wallet.testnet.near.org, right? Wallet.testnet.near.org, and make an account, and we give you 200 near from the faucet.
Okay. Yeah, I was exactly asking for the
Yeah,
if we can request more.
Yeah, create an account. Oh, request more than 200 near on the testnet. Yeah, if you want to, you can just make dev deploy accounts and delete them with yourself as the beneficiary. That's how I got 20,000 in there just while testing.
All right, makes sense.
Yeah, no sweat. Okay, so it looks like Flex 13 is up for a challenge here. So what's actually happening, Flex 13? Do you have any storage? No records found. Near state Flex 13. Do you have a contract deployed? No, you haven't deployed a contract yet. Looks like maker.testnet has something. Have you deployed a contract, Maker? Maker.testnet has not deployed a contract yet. So you've made testnet accounts, but you haven't deployed a contract yet. How do you deploy a contract, right? How do you do that? So you've cloned thanks, for example, and you go to scripts. So first, let me just check here. Scripts, X deploy. And then we should see here the build, and let me just check. So near env and owner are going to be two important variables that we need with this. So echo near env is testnet, echo owner is sharif.testnet. I'm going to deploy thanks.sharif.testnet. So if I type here near state sharif.testnet, you can see there is an account there, obviously. But if I type near state thanks.sharif.testnet, there's no account. I'm about to deploy one now. Scripts X deploy to testnet is my near env, and sharif.testnet is my owner. Building the contract. deploying the contract, initializing the contract. All of this happens in the script. You can check out the script yourself. We still don't have anything there. Oh, we just made the account. So now there is an account, but there's no contract. It's all ones. Now starting deployment, and we've deployed a contract. You see the difference here? All ones versus this code hash for the contract. And the code hash is deterministic. If it's on a, if you compile on the same machine, then you should see it right there. So it looks like Alex has deployed to dev with this, yeah, reboot your brain. Nice, Flex. So you can watch the recording. So I just want to show you, look, near state thanks.sharif.testnet didn't exist. When I ran this script xdeploy, it got created. Then we built the contract, made a sub account here, saved the keys locally, and then deploying the contract. So we made the account. There's no contract deployed. Then we deployed the account right over here. And now you can see there is a contract that's deployed because it's not all ones. The code hash is not all ones. So I know there's a contract deployed. I don't know what the contract is. I can't request the source code. That's something under development still, but I know there's an account there. I know there's a contract there. And so now if I want to, I can run here yarn storage with thanks Sharif.testnet. And you'll see it's ready to go. If anybody wants to, from your repository that you've cloned, you can type here, make sure that the contract variable is set to thanks Sharif testnet. Make sure the speaker is set to something that you've locally logged in as. You'll do that with like near login. Hit enter and follow the prompts. And that way you can sign the event with the speaker and make sure near env is testnet. And at that point, you can sign this and actually say hello to me. And I'll see it here. I think that would be pretty cool. Okay, so someone looks like they deployed to thanks at YS24. Okay, great. Let's give that a shot. So here we go. Thanks YS24. Fantastic. Thanks YS24. Let me just say, thank you by changing the speaker to Sharif.testnet, because I'm about to give you a big thank you for taking on this challenge. And I'm going to say thanks with nice work, totally awesome. Here is, I don't know what, 5,000 near. Okay. Oh, too much. It's limited to 5 near. Sorry about that. So here's 5 near. Thank you. So, oh, wait a second. Sorry about that. The contract was set to my dev deploy. That would have been so funny to send that near. Yeah. So here's 5 near for you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Okay, we should see that on the right-hand side. On your side, ys24.testnet, you can run the report and you'll see the data. Okay, so this was a quick demo. It's all recorded. Hopefully it's useful. I'm more than happy to do this again for you, right? So as a teacher, my patience runs deep. So please be selfish, ask again. You can watch the recording. You can hit me up DM. I can join your group and give you a one-on-one demo where you ask all the things that you want. I have no problem committing much more time outside of these windows of meetings if you want an hour with your team or something like that, but please help me scale. Let's not have a 1 hour one-on-one meeting. Schedule something with your team. Send me a request on Discord. Can we meet for 30 minutes? Can we meet for an hour? Can you go over the demo? Can you help us with this? Can you help us with that? You'll find I'm incredibly generous. If I can give up the time to help you this week, I will do it because the only thing that matters is that you perform as best as you possibly can by Friday. So is there a way to run the scripts in Windows? Look, I just have to tell you right now, Windows is going to be a challenge. You might want to run like Ubuntu in some virtual machine or something like that on Windows. If anybody has a Windows machine with some suggestions, please help. This is a perpetual challenge, is running these scripts on Windows. Obviously, some of these bash scripts are written specifically for kind of a Linux compatible environment, the way that I'm testing the environment variables with the -z and all that stuff. If you are familiar with writing shell script on Windows, you want to rewrite some of these for Windows users, you're more than welcome to do that. All right. Okay, so yeah, VirtualBox, awesome. That's fantastic. Okay, so listen, I just want to end this on just the most kind of positive note that we can possibly end this on, which is thank you so much for deciding to do this with us. I am certain that the last 30 minutes has been completely overwhelming for most of you. Maybe one or two people are still tracking. Welcome, good for you. It's your responsibility, if you're keeping up, to help others, just like it is mine. Decide that you're going to help other people catch up with you. And if you have a question, if you're disoriented, it's your responsibility also to demand the help that you need. I want to be super clear about that. No one's going to come and save you. You're going to save yourself. And we're here to help, okay? Okay, awesome. So any questions, anything else we want to wrap up with? If not, thank you so much for your attention. I know it's been an intense 2-hour meeting. Hopefully it's been worth it. It's all recorded. We'll edit it down to whatever we need to and share it online.
And don't forget about fun part, because this is a lot of fun. Like every smart contract, every application, that's a lot of fun, and there is plenty of jokes. So please come with some funny stuff as well. And that shutdown.near,
Awesome.
please check your wallet. Yeah, you've got some prize.
Nice. You sent them a gift. We can check right here from the terminal to see what they got, huh?
Yeah. Let's check.
Nice.
Yeah.
If anybody doesn't have a mainnet account now, please DM me on Discord, today, and we can take literally 2 minutes and set you up an account. You're going to go to wallet.near.org, and you're going to create an account, and then you're going to send me the funding address, and I'm going to send you 5 near a few seconds later. It's really fast, just like that. But please make sure you set up a mainnet account today. Of course, a testnet account you can set up and fund with 200 near from the faucet anytime you want, as many of those as you want. There's no limit. So that's not a big deal. And yeah, for sure. I'm not as fun as Sasha is. He's always got that like top of mind. I get a little bit too serious sometimes. So thanks, Sasha, for keeping it light. Krishna, yeah, thanks so much for the funding address. I'll go ahead and fund that right now. But as I said, Discord, please, because we're about to kill this meeting and I'll lose track of this. Okay. So Krishna, I'll hold your funding address now. Thank you. Please don't send me any funding addresses here. Please DM me on Discord. Thank you. And by the way, once the account is funded, throw away the funding address because any money that gets to it will be burned. You can only send it once.
Sharif, can I ask you?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe can change contract after deploy, or can it change like Ethereum and Actor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you asking, can we change?
Can we